everyone, I am Chantel Grimaldo from BSED English 3A and I will be presenting to you the steps in developing good questionnaire. So first, let us define what is questionnaire. So the questionnaire has been defined by GOD or Good in 1994 as a list of planned written questions related to a particular topic with space provided for indicating the response to each questions, intended for submission to a number of persons reply. The questionnaire is usually sent by mail to individuals who are called respondents in research terminology, but it can also be administered personally to groups of individuals. So the latter procedure has a number of advantages. First, the person administering the instrument has an opportunity to establish rapport, to explain the purpose of the study, and to explain the meaning of items that may not be clear. Second, availability of number of respondents in one place makes possible an economy of time and expense. Third, such availability of many respondents in one place provides high proportion of usable responses. Now, let's proceed to the construction of a questionnaire. So there are some steps in the preparation of questionnaire, some of which are the following. So number one is doing library research. So do some library research among studies similar as yours. So there may be some questionnaires similar to what you want to use. So they may be served as a guide in constructing your questionnaire. Number two is talking to knowledgeable people. So who are these knowledgeable people? So talk to people who have some knowledge about the construction of questionnaires. So you may be able to get some ideas from them, or specifically to the research advisor. Next is mastering the guidelines. So there are guidelines in the construction of a questionnaire, and you have to master the guidelines, which we'll be discussing later. And number four is writing the questionnaire. So write the questionnaire following the guidelines as closely as possible. So it means that it must be accurate and connected. Next is editing the questionnaire. So after the questionnaire has been finished, show it for correction and suggestions for improvement to people who are known to process adequate knowledge, like the professors that or specifically the research teachers in the construction of questionnaire, especially to your advisor, as what I said, if you have one. Next is rewriting the questionnaire. So rewrite the questionnaire according to the suggestions or corrections made. So make sure to revise it if there are any revisions. Next is pre-testing. So the questionnaire, this is called a dry run or the pre-testing. This is a process of measuring the effectiveness, validity, reliability of the questionnaire and determining the clarity of the items and others. Then last is writing the questionnaire in its final form. So if you already revise the questionnaire, then you will write it in its final form. Now, let's proceed on the guidelines in the construction of questionnaire. So number one is make all directions clear and unequivocal. So it means that you should make your directions clear, definite or exact, or it means that it should be understandable by your respondents. Always see to it that respondents will be able to follow what is that. Like for example is below are the statements that would determine teacher's level of competence. Please encircle the number of opposite each statement that best represent your assessment of the competence of the teachers in your department. The numbers are coded as follows. So it has 1 to 5. 1 is poor, 2 is fair, 3 is satisfactory, 4 is very satisfactory, and 5 is excellent or outstanding. Number 2 is use correct grammar. Punctuation marks should be placed properly to avoid misinterpretation. Number 3 is make all questions unequivocal. So as much as possible, make all questions clear. As what I said, it must be understandable. Just like when you are creating instructions, it must be clear, brief, and unequivocal. So avoid making double-barreled questions. So what are double-barreled questions? Like stated here in an example, are you employed or not? So that is an example of a borrowed questions. Why? Because this type of question cannot be answered by yes or no without qualifying the answer. So if the answer is in the affirmative, it should be yes, I am employed. If the answer is in the negative, it should be no, I am not employed. So again, avoid double-barreled questions. Number 4 is avoid asking biased question. A biased question is one where there is a veiled suggestion for an answer. Like for example here is, do you use Colgate as toothpaste? If not, what brand do you use? So in this question, there is a veiled suggestion to make, like to make that Colgate as the answer. So it will be better if we ask this way, which brand of toothpaste do you use? So again, avoid double-barreled question or bias question. Number 5 is objectify the response. So you need to identify choices from which the respondents will have to choose from, or from which the respondents could check. Next is relate all questions to the topic under study. So all questions should gather data relevant to the study. So it must be accurate to the study. If the study is about the teaching of science, all questions should gather data that have something to do with the teaching of science. If it is math, then it must have data gathered about math. If it's in English, then it must be in English. Next is create categories or clauses for approximate answers. So there are questions which cannot be given exact answers, and so there is necessity for creating categories or classes to accommodate the approximate replies. Like for example is, below are the problems that might encountered by nurses in continuing professional education. Please indicate the degree of seriousness of the problems identified by encircling the number opposite each item using the following scale. So aside from scale, there are also percentage on the right side. So if 5, they're a very serious problem. So there are 76 to 100% perceived problems resulted in non-attendance to CPE program activities. 4 is serious problem with 51% to 75%. 3 is moderately serious problem with 26% to 50% of the perceived problems. 2 is less serious problem with 1% to 25%, and 1 is not a problem without any percentage. Next is number 8 is group the questions in logical sequence. So prepare a question as a chronological order with the sub-problem. So first you must outline your question first, so you would know how to sequence it in chronological order. Next is create a sufficient number of response categories. So this is to make possible the inclusion of correct choice of the respondents. If the correct choice of the respondents is not included among the response categories and he is required to make a response, his reply would be wrong. So an example of limited categories is, do you agree that presidential form of government is better than parliamentary form? So there are only two categories, which is agree and disagree, right? And number 10, word carefully or avoid questions that deal with confidential or embarrassing information. Like for example is, why did you become unfaithful to your husband? Clearly it's an embarrassing questions. This is already telling her that she is unfaithful and will surely embarrass her. So if it is better if, what in your opinion are the reasons why wives sometimes fall in love with a man other than their own husband? So make it generalized rather than specific. Next is explain and illustrate difficult questions. Difficult questions such as those using technical terms should be explained or illustrated thoroughly. So it should be clear, understandable, so the respondents would know, right, upon your questions, upon making your questions. Number 12 is state all questions affirmatively. So how would you state? So if negative statements are unavoidable, mark the negative word to avoid misinterpretation. Next is make as many questions as would apply adequate information for the study. So the study is only as complete as the completeness of the data used. If some important data are missing, the problem suffers from accuracy and validity. So make sure that you gather all the important data. And number 14, add a catch-all word or phrase of multiple response questions. In short, for multiple response, and add the phrase others please specify. This is to allow the respondents to add items which the researchers perhaps have missed. 15 is place all spaces for replies at the left side. So this is made for easy tabulation, the spaces being vertical column. And number 16 is makes the respondents anonymous. So it's up to them whether they want to be anonymous or they want to put names in their on your respondents. So this is to observe confidentiality. That's why you need to make your respondents anonymous. When names are not disclosed, the possibility of providing an objective and accurate and true response is high. So that would be all for the constructions of the guidelines in constructions of questionnaire, and that would be all for my report. Thank you.